Hi everyone, my name's Elliot Smith from Pro-Moto, and as you probably know, we specialise in electric vehicle technology training. Obviously, health and safety is a really important factor in the workplace. We can't deny that we need to make sure that we're well equipped to understand the importance of it, because it protects not only ourselves but other people in the workplace, and to a certain degree we have a duty of care, so obviously. So what I want to focus on today is obviously not only looking after yourself and keeping yourself safe, but more importantly, the PPE regarding electric vehicles, and focusing on the gloves that we need to use when working on high voltage systems. Okay. I want to cover off the regulations for gloves first, because if we understand those, we understand the importance of them, the way we store them, check them, and everything else. Okay. What sort of gloves that are available? I need to talk about those because there are different types of gloves we can buy for electrical safety. And of course, the important point is using insulated gloves as well, because we need to make sure that we're happy with them as we use them, and make sure that they're up to the job when we're going to use them for working on electric vehicles and high voltage systems. So regulations. There are a number of regulations that apply to electrical safety gloves. Okay. All pretty much end up in 60903. There's the European standards. Okay, there's the international standards, which is the IEC, and there's the British Institute or Standards Institute, which is the BSEN, which is pretty much, if you look at each of those standards, are pretty much going to be the same as each other. So whichever one you choose, obviously, whatever glove you choose, they may refer to one of these electrical standards to ensure that the glove is made correctly to the right standards, and of course to make sure that it's rated correctly for you to use at whatever voltages you're working at. So look out for each of these kind of standards. You'll find them usually on the packaging. There's an example just here, and they'll print on there either 1, 2, or maybe even 3 of those to make sure that you obviously getting the glove from a good manufacturer of these protective gloves, because it's clear that we need to make sure that we've got the right protective gear. Okay. What I want to do is, looking at what sort of glove, I want to look at the regulations that apply to those standards, the insulation gloves for electrical working, the categorized or the categories of gloves that we need to look at when we're selecting those sort of gloves. We're going to start with the class 00 to understand where the different classes are listed. There's up to 4 classes, so I'll explain those to you. Of course, the higher the class, the higher the greater the insulation. Okay. Here's a little chart, very simple to understand. They start off at 00, which is the lowest voltage for usage, and you can see the test voltage is a lot higher. Okay, you'll find this on pretty much all the packaging, all the instructions inside the glove when you buy these types of gloves. The 0 glove takes us up to 1,000 volts, and it's tested to 5,000. And in full honesty, this is the one that we probably recommend for you to purchase and use whilst working on electric vehicles. It'll cover pretty much all of the electric vehicle voltages that you'll find up to 1,000 volts. If you ever come across something that's rated higher, then obviously you need to go up to a higher grade, which may be a 1, 2, 3, or 4. Unlikely, but at the moment we recommend a class 0 glove. As you can see, as the classes go up, we get up to like a 36,000 volt usage and tested to 40,000 volts. We're not going to get there. That's more for national grid stuff, electricians working on the high voltage systems on the national grid. So the one we need to focus on is the 0 glove at 1,000 volts. That should cover everything you need to know, or every type of vehicle you're going to work on. Okay. The different types of gloves that are available to us: short cuff without mechanical resistance, long cuff without mechanical resistance, and a long cuff with mechanical resistance. If you look at each of these gloves, you'll find that without mechanical resistance, they're pretty much a rubber glove that is easy to work with. They're simple, you've got lots of dexterity, you can feel what you're doing and everything else. However, it's not really necessary in the garage, but if you're going to work a long time on, say, battery assemblies, working on with sharp edges, then a mechanical glove with a resistance mechanical glove is much more appropriate for those sort of tasks. But bearing that in mind, that they've been more difficult to work with. So for most people, for most daily work, working on electric vehicles, then the either short or long glove without mechanical resistance will be sufficient. What we do also recommend is that for comfort and ease of use, we might use an inner glove, a soft fabric inner glove. It makes you more comfortable, particularly in hot weather as well. So you can use that, and it makes it easy to get the glove on and off. We know with latex gloves on a hot summer's day or when it's a little bit sweaty, it can get difficult to work with these things. And a soft inner glove, fabric glove, is much easier and more comfortable. And to be honest, it makes it easier to work on when you work with when you work on electric vehicles. Okay. Important uses of using electrical or insulation gloves. We're going to look at storage, transport, what we need to do before we use them, the precautions, cleaning, and important. Now, if you look at any of these gloves when you purchase it, pretty much all the stuff I'm going to talk about is always contained in the information leaflet that comes with the glove. So this is always here. So you haven't got to remember this. You can refer to it, and it's pretty much repeated in these little leaflets you find within the glove. And it covers lots of other things, so make yourself familiar with it. Now, I know pretty much all of us, we don't look at the instructions, but it's important we do. Okay, we kind of think we know everything, but in this case, it's important we make ourselves familiar with the instructions. So what I'm going to do is go through each of these to make sure you're aware of what the important points are as far as using insulation gloves. The first thing with storage, must be kept in the original wrapper. Now, a lot of people say, well, look, I've got these gloves, I'll put them to one side, I'll get rid of the wrapper. Now, the wrapper is actually quite an important part of the glove. Two things: it stops ultraviolet light getting in because it will deteriorate the gloves. And secondly, it stops circulation because rubber or gloves will absorb moisture over time, and that will deplete the effectiveness of the glove. So keep the packaging. Pop it in there, it's resealable for most of these things. Put it to one side and keep it in a safe place. That will reduce moisture that gets inside the bag, okay, and absorbed by the glove itself. And it prevents UV light, which also degrades the rubber glove and its ability to protect you from high voltages. Small little points, but in the instructions, it will tell you do not compress them, don't fold them, do not store them near light or heat source, natural or artificial. Okay, make sure the temperatures are between 10 and 20 degrees Celsius. Okay, and humidity is 60 plus or minus 10%. So a few important factors to consider there when you're storing those gloves. Same conditions apply as storage, so you don't have to worry too much about that. So when you're storing them or transporting, the same regulations or pointers apply to gloves. Before you use them, inflate the gloves with air in order to detect potential faults. Now, you can blow them up. What I would recommend is you use either a pump, or what I tend to do is just trap some air in it, roll them up, give them a squeeze. If they hold the air, okay, then and inspect them while they do, then that is sufficient as far as a class 0 glove is concerned. Carry out a visual inspection to make sure they're not damaged from any cuts, abrasions, stuff like that. So it's important that you're happy with the glove. Okay, guys. Precautions: gloves should not be allowed unnecessarily to come into contact with oil, grease, turpentine, white spirit, strong acid, stroke, alkaline, or other corrosive products. Clearly, it sounds like an obvious thing to say, but they're in the instructions. And don't use wet gloves, obviously, because of electrical stuff. It's more conductive if we use them when they're in the wet conditions. If you need to clean them, you can. Just use soap and water, dry at less than 65 degrees Celsius, because then obviously it doesn't deteriorate the gloves any further than they are already. Important point to make here, and we do get a lot of asked questions, and it can get a little bit confusing, is how long can I use the glove for? So if we refer back to the standards that we talked about earlier, this is the EN IEC BSEN 60903. It does state in there in Annex E, and it is listed in that little leaflet you'll find in the gloves. Now I'm going to read this out word for word so you understand it. For a class 00, which will be up to 500 volts, and a class 0 glove, a check for air leaks and visual inspection may be considered adequate. However, a routine dielectric test, that's electrical resistance test, may be performed at the owner's request. Okay? If you go for class 1, 2, 3, or 4, not even those held in storage should not be used unless they have been tested within a maximum period of 6 months. The test consists of an air inflation, as we explained earlier, to check for leaks, a visual inspection for damage whilst pressurised, and a routine dielectric test. So this, if we lose a zero glove, then we don't need to worry about a dielectric test unless you feel you want to. If I'm honest, the cost of a dielectric test will be probably more than the new pair of gloves are. So if you're not happy with the glove, get rid of them, get a new pair and look after them. Remember, keep them in the packaging, put them to one side and look after them, and they should last a fair time. Okay. Finally, where can you get them from? Go to our website, www.pro-moto.co.uk. You'll see our store there, and you can see all the gloves that we've talked about are available in our store. Click on those and purchase them that way. So you can go to our website, along with other stuff you can get as far as electric vehicle technology is concerned. All right, guys, listen, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. We'll come up with some other subjects that are really useful for you to understand and get involved with. If you've got any comments, please come to our website, or if you want any more inquiries, come to our websites, look on the inquiries page and drop us a line or give us a ring. We're glad to talk to you. Okay, that's it for today. Cheerio.